I'm making another album, and today I want to think through with you a tension that I'm experiencing at the moment that I know that you will experience at some point when you attempt to make unique music. It's like a contradiction, or maybe two sides, two different ways of approaching making your music, which are both important, but which lead in different directions. And that's the difference between exploring and exploiting. So let me use the example of what I'm doing right now. So I'm meant to be finishing an album, and I'm already one album behind, not hit one deadline for reasons I've spoken about. So I thought I was going to make 4 albums this year. Turns out I'm only going to make 3. So I really do want to hit this deadline, but at this point, because of my explorations inside me, I'm thinking, oh, actually, maybe I can only make 2 albums this year. Because through the course of attempting to finish this album, I am finding a rich vein of discovery and exploration that I would love to do. So just let me explain first of all, and then I'll tell you how it relates to explore versus exploit. One of the things I've realized by starting to sing and also focusing on improving my voice, developing my vocal instrument, if you like, is that I've been frustrated in the past in playing instruments like the piano, and I used to play the bassoon and the saxophone, and then I've always felt that there was something of a veil, a barrier between the noise I was making with those instruments and the expression that I was trying to get across. And I've never really understood this, because until now, until the last couple of years, whenever I've sung, this was a long time ago now, when I sang in choirs, I was singing other people's music, which again is another example of what I would call a barrier between my expression and what people are hearing. Yes, you can obviously express yourself through playing or singing somebody else's stuff, but it's not quite the same as your own. So until now, I've never really experienced what it's like to express your own music through your own literal voice until very recently. And one of the amazing things about the human voice, which I kind of knew but didn't really understand, is that almost by definition, it is the most expressive instrument there is. Now, that's not to say that a guitar or violin or a piano or whatever it might be isn't incredibly expressive, and there are certain people who seem to be able to speak through it. But one of the amazing things about the human voice is that we already it's almost like a direct connection between what we're trying to express and what comes out of our mouth. For instance, right now, I'm not reading from a script, as you can probably tell. Thoughts are coming into my head and I'm saying them. And when I get excited, I speak like that. And when I get cross, I speak like that. We are already experts at expressing ourselves with our voice. For example, when I started doing live streams, it was during the pandemic. I think it was like October 2021 or something like that. I know it was October at some point, one year or another. Time has lost all meaning during the pandemic. But on YouTube, I started doing daily improvisations on the piano. And then when my subharmonicon arrived, subharmonicon, I don't know how you say it. When my subharmonicon arrived, the Moog at Christmas, all of a sudden, because I'd been doing live improvisations every day on the piano, I added the subharmonicon and then the DFAM, the Moog synths, and all of a sudden I was doing these daily live streams of improvised music, and it was getting really close to that direct expression that I've always been trying to find. However, one of the things I now realize that was frustrating me was that in between the purpose of what I was trying to say and what was coming out, there were these instruments in the way. So now there have been these little glimpses when I've been singing of where it just comes straight out, where it's like, what? That is the thing that I've been looking for all my life. A few episodes ago, I was talking about there just being 5 words which I sang in a particular way, which was, that is the feeling I'm trying to get across. And I've realized that the human voice, my voice, I'm super excited to develop my voice so that I can do this. But what's been interesting since I've realized this, and since I've started really going into doing a lot of vocal practice, vocal exercises, that kind of thing, and looking into various different pedagogies, different ways of training the voice and everything, is that actually singing itself, when you think about it, is almost like a barrier. So if I go, "Argh," you can probably tell that I am angry or frustrated, right? Whereas if I go, I'm angry, yeah, which is totally ridiculous, obviously, but if I sing like that, it's almost like that singing, even though it's kind of got an angry element to it, it's not as direct an expression of anger as, right? And what I realized that even the way that we are taught to sing and the way that people sing is, in a sense, a barrier between the expression, the purpose of what we're trying to say, and the sound coming out. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to suddenly release an album of grunts and groans and wails and screams and call it music. I'm probably starting to have a kind of philosophical discussion with myself about where does music start and noise end. So the music that I make and the songs that I write are going to be music, and I am going to sing on them. But what is interesting to me is that in this area where I can really find my uniqueness is in asking these questions. How can I use my voice as an instrument in order to express the purpose of what I'm trying to say, in order to really make somebody feel something in a direct manner? For example, press record from the beginning and simply just express the lyrics. So I'll have the main vocal playing, have another track where I'm expressing the lyrics in sounds and grunts and wails. So literally doing that to see what there is there. Now, I probably won't use any of that, but certainly as a starting point to see if, instead of adding a synth or adding a pad or adding some kind of instrument, see if I can add my vocal instrument as the additional things to create the color. Now, I mean, I've already done it with one track, and one of the problems with it is that it's almost too literal. It's like those annoying podcasts sometimes you hear where they have music. The composer has taken the words too literally. So it's like, and so then I walked down the street, dun, 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 and then I had an idea, bing, and then I fell down the stairs, really annoyingly literal. It's a little bit like that, what I've got at the moment. So at this point, I'm in this situation where I kind of know what it is that I'm driving at, but I'm driving into the fog. I'm driving into the night where I can't see where I'm going. In other words, I'm in this extremely exploratory frame of mind about it. I'm very excited about it. I'm excited to see where it leads. I don't know where I'm going, but it is definitely something I'm interested to do. So how is this going to work while finishing an album? And in fact, how this will work in terms of finishing an album is that finishing an album is precisely what I need to not get lost in the fog, to not get lost in the night. It's almost like finishing an album is a beacon, to mix metaphors, a lighthouse. Actually, not a lighthouse, because that would say don't go that way, right? So the opposite of a lighthouse, a beacon that is telling me go in this direction. You have to finish something by this point, because with this kind of explore attitude, you need to bring into it the exploit side of the equation. If explore is, well, I'm going to try all these different things, I'm going to try new things. Exploit is, okay, I know I've got these tools. I am now going to exploit them. I'm going to use the tools that I have. Because if you spend too much time in explore, you'll end up going round and round in circles, not getting anywhere, just fumbling around in the fog. Whereas if you spend too much time in exploit, then what you end up doing eventually is making generic music, just going over the same old ground over and over again, being a craftist. So what you want to do is have a mixture of explore and exploit. Now, in making an album, ideally, what you would be doing in the first half of making the album, I mean, whether it's exactly a half or not is neither here nor there, but in the first half of making an album is focusing on explore, and in the second half of the album, focusing on exploit. In fact, that's exactly how the Make an Album with Mike program works. However, because of the way things have turned out for me in this situation, where I've discovered what I'm doing halfway through, this leaves me in a bit of a conundrum, because I'm meant to be exploiting what I already have. But because I'm excited to do some exploring in this area, I'm in danger of doing neither. I haven't been clear with myself on exactly what this means. So actually, this conversation has been very useful for me because I now understand what the problem is. I need to determine, all right, how much exploring am I going to do, and how am I going to use it? How am I going to exploit what I learn from this exploring to finish the album on time? Because having that finished thing is going to allow me to understand where to go next. I need to reach the beacon. I need to have something done to be able to review so that I know what to explore next. Because if not, I'm just spinning my wheels. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to record myself doing these grunts and wails for all of the tracks on the album so far. And then on the next cycle through, I'm going to listen to the recordings and I'm going to decide exactly what to do with that material. Probably most of it will be deleted, but I do feel that at this stage it's an ideal opportunity. Now I've got the songs written and mostly recorded, it's an ideal opportunity for me to see what I could do with my voice beyond simply singing the lyrics. And to be honest with you, because I'm talking about exploring this, I can't think too many steps ahead because I'm going into the fog, but I'm going to put an end point on this part of the exploration as being by Sunday. So in fact, by the time this podcast goes live, I will have stopped that part of the exploring, because this is the thing about exploring. You don't know what it's going to yield. You don't know where it's going. I can't say, all right, so after that, I'm going to do this, and after that, I'm going to do the other, because I'm doing something new. I'm doing something that I have not done before. But what I have to do in this situation, especially given there's a deadline, is put a limit on it, saying I'm going to stop doing this at this point and then see where I'm at. So I'm sorry if this podcast has been a little bit all over the place. I've been thinking through a few things. I've been in an exploratory frame of mind. This is a way of thinking about what you're doing. If you're spending all of your time in exploit, just doing the same things that you've always done, that might not be ideal if you want to make unique music. If you're spending all of your time exploring, going around in circles, trying 5,000 different things and not exploiting any of them, not actually moving forward, taking any of them forward, that's not going to be ideal either. So what you want to do when you're making music is use both the explore and the exploit in order to make unique music. So with all that said, I'm going to stop talking about making an album and start making one.